check.
Oh, where are all the principals at? Maggie, where's everybody at? Are they gone?
You're gonna get it Monday.
So Leanne and Colleen are at a dance recital for their children. Kelly and Bridget are going to be a few minutes late.
You did put it right in there. It's pretty simple, you know?
We're up to 19. Am I only bringing one up?
Yeah. No, I'm just like, look at this.
Are you going tomorrow? It's 11 miles on the first day.
Okay.
I think it's like 19 total.
I did that twice. So, when you leave, don't call us.
You call me.
You can call me, I'm up.
BC on the 8th grade.
Oh, the Chris.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
been there, had to
Yeah.
The best.
I just wanted to make sure because I saw them like, wait a minute.
When the bus
All right.
somebody gets sick.
Or when you're the chaperone and you lose the principal's son.
That works too. Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Abington Night School Board meeting for Wednesday, May 17th. Would everyone please rise and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, Mrs. O'Day. Can we have roll call, please?
Mr. Abdallah?
Here.
Mr. Azar?
Here.
Mr. Fleming?
Here.
Mrs. Henderson?
Here.
Mrs. Karam?
Here.
Mr. Medensky?
Here.
Mr. Robeson?
Here.
Mrs. Tierney?
Here.
Mr. Acker?
Here.
All present.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda for tonight and ask that the board consider adding the summer projects list for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that? Roll call. I think we better do roll call and the motion first.
Right. Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0 to the amendment.
And now I think I would ask for a roll call to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Roll
Miss-
call, please.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0 on the amended.
Agenda is amended. I've added item Q, consider a motion to approve summer projects.
Can we please approve the minutes board meetings of April 19th and May 3rd.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam.
Yes.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Robson.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney.
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
At this time, are there any board reports or committee reports come before the board? Mrs. Henderson.
Hello, I have the curriculum committee. Dr. Vitale at our last board meeting ran through a lot of the math stuff that the math guiding committee is working on. So I'm just going to run through it real quick. They basically established Portrait of a Mathematician, which was like an invaluable tool that will be allowed for consistency across grade levels. It'll be a great way to share progress with parents and guardians. It's going to be included in the summer packages that are sent home with the kids. It's going to be shared at conferences, and it will travel with the students from grade to grade. This way, parents will know exactly what their kids are entering the school year, what they're going to learn, and when they finish, they'll be able to see what their students actually learned. They also came up with the vision and framework. The framework is basically a way for us to see consistency and transparency among all of the stakeholders by breaking down who's responsible for what as we work together to help our students master skills on their journey to become mathematicians. We also approved the K through 8 math curriculum at the last meeting, and they're working to finalize the high school curriculum. Summer project packets will be sent home. 1st through 6th is highly encouraged, and they're incentivizing them with different things across the grade levels. Incoming 1st through 4th graders will have reading, math, and STEM choice boards to complete. Incoming 5th through 8th will have books to do, as well as math. 7th and 8th grade, they will have one book that is mandatory to read. Incoming 9th through 12th grade will have a mandatory summer reading list. Copies of those books can be made available through the district and at the library. We are also working on the district's comprehensive plan, which is due on the 31st of October. Basically, the goals are broken down to math, the way that we're implementing the curriculum, professional development and coaching. Second goal is science. We're going to start the curriculum writing process next year. And third goal would be to improve school climate through PBIS implementation. The link has been sent out for the surveys for the families to fill out. We're looking to have a lot of engagement this year. It's a great way to get a read on how students and their families feel that we're doing across the board. We also talked about professional development. There is a new induction plan that is in place. It originally, up until now, was only one day, and all of our new teachers went to the IU. Now it is going to be a 3-day program with a 2-year mentor process. So studies show that effective and comprehensive induction plans not only help new teachers get acclimated to the new profession, but it also provides support and valuable feedback, which positively affects students' learning and leads to higher teacher retention rates. We also are looking at the new STEELS. It's kind of, STEELS is the new STEAM. It's science, technology, engineering, environmental literacy, and sustainability. There's going to be new standards for that. Is it next school year?
They're out.
They're out now.
Be in place for the 25-26.
Okay, so yeah, so they won't be in place for the 25-26. So that's about it. Am I forgetting anything? I think we're good. All right.
Any questions on the curriculum report?
Yeah, actually I do. For the students that don't meet the benchmarks or the end of the year, like the 3rd grade, all those different levels that they would reach, is there a safety net? Is there any type of summer school or summer, I don't want to say catch-up, but extended education for math and reading?
Are you talking about the
Like a
iReady tests that they're given, the benchmarks that they're giving throughout the year?
No, I'm talking about that student that doesn't complete it. Their scores aren't high enough for them, for the confidence to be feeling that they've accomplished that criteria of that category.
So based off of the benchmarks, is that what you mean? Like when
Yeah,
you're looking at those
yeah,
numbers? I think
yeah.
Dr. Vitale can speak more to that.
So my first summer here, so summer of '21, we had a summer academy for our elementary students, and it was not widely attended, and there was no data that showed that it was actually effective. So what we do is we make sure that we start interventions early in the school year, the next school year. So we track that student and that data, and we start interventions and make sure that we are supporting the student and growing them and closing that academic gap.
Thank you very much. Any other board reports at this
Just,
time?
Mr. Acker, just to give an idea of how much work goes into this, I mean, we showed up at this meeting and there's a packet of, it's just really comprehensive, it's really thorough, well thought out, and really engaged with just the administration, teachers, and even the public. I mean, we had people at one particular person at at our last meeting. And so this is a big deal because it really puts forth not just the curriculum, but really looking inward to how can we get better? How can we deliver the curriculum better? Because it's easy to pick on a curriculum, and I'm guilty of it. But I think our approach is a little different, and hopefully we'll see the improvements. But great job to Mrs. Henderson and Dr. Vitale. And it was a really good effort by everybody.
Certainly echo your comments. It really was a very, very good effort and one that was truly a team effort. So. Okay, moving on, Jessica Colombo and Aiden Lamb, come on down. Oh, do we need to approve the board reports? Jordan Colombo. Jordan, excuse me. I almost had it right.
So progress for reports for the fourth quarter were posted on May 10th, and Keystone exams began yesterday, May 16th. Final exams for the high school are scheduled for June 5th through the 8th, and as of last week, AP exams are wrapped up, and the development of the master schedule for the 23-24 school year is still underway. At the high school, class officer campaigns / elections are beginning, and the junior class NHS induction was on May 11th. The prom will take place this Saturday, May 20th at Fiorelli's. The senior reflection ceremony will take place at Montvale Country Club on May 23rd. Senior Rec Day is on May 26th. The marshals for graduation are John Lounsbury and Kate Skoblick. The ushers are McKenna Stugas, Emily McDonald, Angela Zhang, Jeff Brock, Dane Hugler, and Sam Specht. Students won the Envirothon and are headed to states, and Abington Heights has 4 National Merit Scholars. Congratulations to the Abington Heights School District for being named among the 2023 Best Communities in the Nation for Music Education by NAMM Foundation. This award program recognizes outstanding efforts by teachers, administrators, parents, students, and community leaders who have made music education part of a well-rounded education. A huge shout out and thank you to our entire community, administration, teachers, parents, and school board members for all of their support. The high school music department would like to invite you to our 3rd annual AHHS Concert on the Green on Sunday, June 4th at 6:00 p.m. It will include the high school choir, marching band, band front, and orchestra. We will begin in the auditorium at 6 p.m. and end on the field with food trucks beginning at 5:30 p.m. The senior luncheon is scheduled for June 9th and is currently being planned by junior parents. And finally, late registration for the June 3rd SAT is still available. Thank you.
Jordan, I apologize.
It's okay, Jessica's my sister, so. Our spring sports are finally wrapping up their regular season and heading into the postseason strong. Our baseball team is 11-6 and is currently ranked 4th overall in the District 2/4 Sub-Regional Class 5A Power Rankings. The boys will finish the regular season at North Pocono tonight and will begin their postseason play on Monday, May 22nd. Our softball team is 13-6 and are on the 7-game win streak with wins over Scranton Prep, Parkland, Valley View, who were previously undefeated, West Scranton, Walpolpack, Holy Cross, and Del Val. The girls are now ranked 2nd overall in the District 2/4 Sub-Regional Class 5A Power Rankings with their last regular season game today at North Pocono. Their postseason will also begin on May 22nd, with a chance to potentially be the top seed in league champions. The boys lacrosse team finished their regular season with a 6-9 overall record and remained ranked 6th overall in the District 2 Class 2A power rankings. They play Scranton Prep in the quarterfinal round of the district playoffs tonight. The girls lacrosse team finished their regular season with a 13-1 record overall and were ranked 2nd in the District 2 Class 2A power rankings. The girls defeated Lake Lehman 8-2 in their quarterfinal matchup on Monday. The Comets will host the semifinal matchup against Wyoming Seminary on Thursday, 5/18 at 6 p.m. This is the best season yet for girls lacrosse and their first ever quarterfinal win in program history. The powerlifting team will compete this Sunday, May 21st at Jim Thorpe. Unified Track competed at the UCS Regional Track and Field Tournament on Wednesday, 5/10 at Hazelton Area High School, and finished 3rd overall amongst its competitors on the day. Our girls and boys track and field team competed at districts this week at Scranton High School. Congratulations to our girls team who came out with the district title and our boys team who finished 6th place overall. Individual medalists include Madeline Zaleski, 1st place and new school record for javelin, Nico Williams, 1st place for shot put, and Colin Donahoe, 1st place in the 800 meter. All 3 will compete at states next Friday. Other medalists include the girls 4x4 relay, which placed 1st, and the girls 4x8 relay, which came in 2nd. Both girls relay will compete in states next week. In addition to the 3A district championship, the girls varsity track and team won its 16th consecutive league championship, their 3rd consecutive Class 3A title at the Jordan Relays, and the Class 3A title at the Robert Spagna Championship meet. Our boys tennis team won their 10th straight District 2 Class 3A team championship last week. This also marks the 14th district title in the past 15 years for our boys. However, the boys team lost yesterday to Unionville in the first round of state playoffs. Additionally, after making their way through the first 3 single rounds, both Pernille Malaya and Sam Chrisman lost in the semifinals in the district single tournament last week. Today was the first 3 rounds of the district doubles tournament at North Pocono Middle School. Competing were Sam Chrisman, Dominic Peters, Pernille Malaya, and Luke Morgan. And finally, the boys volleyball team, 14-2, are currently ranked 2nd overall in the District 2 Class 3A power rankings. The District 2 playoffs will begin next Wednesday, May 24th at Delaware Valley High School. The boys will play Wilkes-Barre area in the semifinals at 5:30. Thank you.
Jordan, if I'm not mistaken, this is your last meeting?
It is.
Well, thank you very much for your service to the school board and Abington Heights.
Oh, thank you.
Wait a minute, Jordan. We're not done. So what are your plans?
I'm planning on attending Clemson University in the fall for middle level education. So.
Whoa, very good. Very
Thank you.
impressive.
Yeah. Go Tigers.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you for your service. Dr. Schaefer? It's all yours.
All right. Thank you. All right, yeah, put that on the list. Dr. Vitale occasionally tells me what I forgot, so I forgot what I forgot, so. Anyway, what I did not forget was what I'd be talking about today during my superintendent's presentation, which will be very brief. And I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about a few items that we have on the agenda for tonight. We've talked about some of this previously, but I thought it was important to go over some context relative to some of the intended outcomes. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, you'll see there is a KCBA. Those are the architects that the board hired to do our facilities project. In my opinion, they did a very professional and thorough job. It was very informative. As a result of that, we've started the process of prioritizing and discussing some of our next projects. And while tonight we won't be talking about this, the report illuminates, which we've not only discussed publicly, but we've had a couple public presentations about it, as well as survey results, the shape of the middle school. That is the number one big topic when we talk about large-scale plans, whether that is a new building or a renovation or some hybrid approach. And to do this in a manner that is not only effective but efficient for everybody involved, we need to take the next step with KCBA, our architects, to do some preliminary concept studies. So taking a look at where would a new building or a renovation be exactly. What might it look like? How many rooms? Where would those rooms be? We take a look at the site. All these things need to be taken into consideration. They need to do a study, and then they'll come back to us. And that is something that we'll be presenting publicly. And as we go down this road, just like perhaps when you look at a home or look at a car, I've never made those purchases without actually looking at it. I mean, that's why I think we like Zillow so much, because you can sit there and look at it. So I wouldn't want to be discussing a middle school or any large-scale renovation or new building without knowing exactly where it may be, how it would impact the children in the community, where the rooms would be located, how that would impact student traffic, parent traffic, our programs, as we just talked about, our curriculum tonight. So that's on the agenda, and that is a next step that would have to be taken. And oftentimes, the immediate step, and when I say immediate, and this is, I'm this hypothetically speaking here, okay? Like, so if the board decided that they wanted to build a new middle school, then the next step would be we'd have to go back to the architects, and then they'd have to do schematics and really get into it, okay? So understand that this is a process with the architects, and this is the appropriate next step. The same thing will be happening with, we have a wellness center at the high school down outside the track. This is not something that is on our project list, but this is something that we would like to, and I've said this publicly before, is have a capital campaign. But in order to do that, you would need to have a study on this. Is that even possible? Where might it be? What are the resources that would need to be gathered to make that a reality? How might that impact the course of study at the high school? I mean, classrooms, things like that. So these are important next steps. The next item is PFM. Those are municipal financial advisors. We have not had a large debt issuance in a really long time. In fact, I don't think anybody in this room has been here when we had a bond. But the firm up here today, and we've met with them and we've involved many in this process, they represent, I think, 80% of the issuances in Pennsylvania. They are by far the most popular and highly regarded municipal advisor. And they would consult with us on everything from policy to RFPs, requests for proposals on loans, because loans can be competitive and negotiable, to bonds, and working with us to determine what the appropriate next steps would be. The board is not committing to anything tonight. In fact, if the board decided that they weren't going to issue any debt, they weren't going to do anything, we would not have to pay PFM. There is no cost on this because it would all be determined based on the amount of debt issued. Okay. So I want to make sure I talked about that. And then finally, the summer projects. We've talked a little bit about this, where we have 3 sources of information that inform district priorities relative to facilities and safety. Before I got here, I believe probably around when Dr. Vitale was here in the spring of '21, the state police conducted a risk and vulnerability study. It was very comprehensive. We also had KCB, as I just mentioned, did a very comprehensive facility study. And then we worked with our extracurricular committee to work with our athletic director, coaches, some athletes, to get feedback on what our priorities are and high needs for our extracurricular programs. We then took a look at all of those items that were generated, and we had to make decisions about what would be the most immediate projects. And a lot of that was around safety. And then some projects came in, and those were projects that could be done without causing interruption or interference for future projects. Okay? So we would not be putting a large-scale HVAC short-term project, one, because it couldn't be done in a short amount of time, and two, that could impact some future work if we were going to be doing something with, say, our bathrooms, and we just ran something, HVAC in there, and then we had to rip it out in order to make our bathrooms ADA accessible. So those are some of the things that we took into consideration. So the board will be voting on summer projects tonight, and in no way, shape, or form does that obligate us to that. We'll be taking a look at those projects as we move forward. In some cases, some of those projects we would hope to be done in the summer, but we'll be working with vendors. And we may not be able to get it done before the start of school, but we'll be reporting back on that. The important, the reason why we're voting on it tonight is so that we can start to make some calls tomorrow to line some things up. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Now would be the point in time of the meeting where we have an opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone in the crowd that would like to offer some comments? Okay. Pardon?
If they don't make eye contact.
Yeah, well, they're not trying to, so I'm. Okay, in that particular case, we'll move on to the action and discussion items. And the first order of business is the treasurer's report for our newly reappointed treasurer, Mr. Badensky.
Thank you. We started the month of April with a cash balance of $18,497,933. We had total monthly revenues of $2,122,886, with net disbursements of $4,889,990, which gives us a cash balance moving forward of $15,730,829. But I do have one question for Jim, because I just noticed it while I was reviewing this before I spoke. We had a credit to our disbursements of over $2 million, and I did not look at that. I'm sorry. I'm sure it's in the, the whole reports. What was the $2 million that we got credit for?
I believe that was one of the bonds maturing and coming back. It perhaps not the wording
amount.
may not.
Right.
No, that would have been, because we staggered our bonds.
Right.
So that's a bond plus interest coming back for,
Okay.
I think that was a 3-month bond that came back. So the principal amount was the $2 million
Right.
plus the interest coming back.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Okay, Dr. Schaefer?
Yes, Mr. Ackert asked the board to consider a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah.
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
I would also like to congratulate Leanne Leone, who's our new principal in the high school, and Michael Hoffman, who's the assistant principal that we appointed.
Congratulations, Michael. You're going from,
Is there any reason you're in the front row to make sure you can count the votes?
yeah, exactly. Don't let those people in the back influence you.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Ackard asks that the board consider a motion to approve additional ESY professional staff and support staff positions.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call?
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney.
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah.
Yes.
Mr. Azar.
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Ackard asks that the board approve the 2023-24 fall athletic EDRs.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Robeson,
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board consider a motion to approve the May 2023 volunteer list.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar,
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Medensky,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Ackard asks that the board approve the Title III Consortium Memorandum of Understanding between Abington Heights School District and the NEIU 19.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
Yeah, I have a couple questions on this. Dr. Schaefer, is this Title III, is this like English as a second language opportunity for our students? And how many students do we have that take advantage of this?
If it's, all right, I just told Dr. Vitale not to give a number. If it's below a certain number, that wouldn't make the students anonymous. I can tell you that it's a very low number.
And I see that we're in cycle 2. Abington Heights is in cycle 2. What does that mean?
Cycle 2 is for when we do a comprehensive plan for our ELD program in the consortium. So it's just what phase we are in with PDE. As for the number, we're just above 40 students that receive services and about 60 students that are monitored. And it is growing. I want to say we added over 10 students this school year alone. To my knowledge, yes.
Dr. Vitale, why do you think it's growing?
I don't have a reasonable answer for that, other than we're welcoming people into our community.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah,
Yes.
Mr. Azar.
Yes.
Mr. Fleming,
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Karam,
Yes.
Mr. Medensky.
Yes.
Mr. Robeson.
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney,
Yes.
Mr. Acker,
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board approve the Abington Heights High School estimated budget proposal, production staff, roles and responsibilities for the 2000, is it 24? Should be 23-24 musical Beauty and the Beast.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
I think the musical happens in the
Okay.
fall,
Mm-hmm.
so it is 2020.
Gotcha.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. I could ask that the board approve the school board meeting dates for the 2023-24 school year.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
I just have a question, Mr. Eckert. For the budget adoption, it says it's June 19th. Don't we usually adopt on the fourth Wednesday? Or are we not, we don't do that anymore? Because that's the
I
third,
believe you're correct.
We always did it the last Wednesday.
yeah, the fourth Wednesday. So that would, I think if we could just adjust it to for June 26th.
I thought we did it the third Wednesday in case for any reason it's not adopted, we have another opportunity to go back and have another meeting. Because this year, we're doing June 21st, which is the third Wednesday of the month. So this year in June, we're doing the third Wednesday.
Because the date is the 30th, right? We have to have it done by the 30th. That state has to have it by the 30th.
Yes, we have to pass it by the 30th, and I will file it. So, I mean, there's really two schools of thought. One is the wiggle room should a motion fail, or two, you give yourself another week for the state to come through with their budget, so that you can budget the appropriate amount. They usually come down to the wire or go past it anyway. So, there, you know,
And I'm not opposed to it. It's a shift from what we normally do, because I think we allow for that other week to see what comes through, that's all.
Right.
Is there a preference in the administration?
it's a few keystrokes for me, but the week between, I'm not sure I'm gonna learn that much in that
In that week?
1 week time. I truly believe the state will take it down to the wire, and I don't think we're going to have the luxury of knowing what the subsidy will be.
So you'd like that wiggle room, you want to keep it the 19th?
I'm totally fine with what is printed
Whatever.
there.
Other comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board consider a motion to approve the Cruisin' Comets Car Club and the Abington Heights Medical Club student activity accounts. So we have a process which we have online. This is published here tonight, so everybody can read it. So these are two club requests that have come from our high school students and an advisor. And so that's before you today.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask that the board consider a motion to approve the special education service agreement with the Graham Academy for the 2023-24 school year.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call?
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
As a reminder, on the next agenda item, Dr. Vitale provided a very thorough, comprehensive presentation last board meeting on the work that our math committee did at arriving at this recommendation. So at this point, I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve the B.W. Walsh contract for the ongoing assessment project, professional development for math teachers, grades K through Algebra 1.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
just have one comment to reiterate what Mr. Robeson had said about that curriculum committee. This is another opportunity for us board directors to see the benefits of this curriculum committee. This was an incredible opportunity for our teachers and faculty to have professional development. And thank you to the committee for finding this and bringing this to us to approve. So thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
I also echo Mrs. Tierney's comments. Very well.
Before I move on to the next item, I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind the public or anybody listening right now online that this next item, a motion to approve the 23-24 preliminary general fund budget, we are not approving the final budget tonight. This is a statutory obligation. So I just want to be clear about that. So, Mr. Acker, I'd like the board to consider a motion to approve the 23-24 preliminary general fund budget.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
The budget that we received on May 3rd, are there any changes to this?
There are no changes to that. That's the one we walked through in the presentation on May 3rd.
Okay, great, thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
No.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-1.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve the proposal for study of the middle school and wellness center from KCBA Architects.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Mr. Medensky.
Why was the wellness center included in this one? 'Cause we really haven't talked that much about the wellness center, but I know we've talked a lot about the middle school. So why was that included in this study?
Last year around this time, we started talking about some of the fields. We worked with, is it quad 3 or 4? Quad 3. And at that point, we were taking a look and talking about, at the same time, stadium expansion and also needing more room for some of our phys ed classes. We talked about everything from concessions to locker rooms. And in order to have that discussion, that kind of moved forward into a capital campaign. So in order to do that, we would need to have some type of plan in place.
So why the wellness center? Because there's other needs, not just the middle school, but there's other needs at all the other buildings that we are not, studying at this point.
We certainly are studying through the KCBA. This is a capital campaign. What we're talking about when we're talking about KCBA is what I spoke about today in debt issuance, things that we would be funding. What we're talking about in this case is having a capital campaign where we're having private capital and contributions fund that.
And KCBA will be able to help, well, they need the data, never mind. I understand.
Yep.
Answer
All right.
Never mind.
Other questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Eckert asks that the board consider a motion to approve the proposal agreement with PFM Financial Advisors LLC.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
I do have another comment. I want to thank both Dr. Schaefer's staff and the Finance Committee for bringing this advisory group to us and educating us on what their process was in vetting them and finding this advisory group. I'm not sure who all the players were in finding this, but they are top-notch, and this is exactly what I believe we need to help us, to advise us with our finances going forward. So thank you, hats off to that committee.
Other comments? Questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Ackert asks the board consider a motion to approve the settlement agreement between Abington Heights School District and student 13X.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
Mr. Acker, I just had a question. In section 7 of that, there's usually, they have the attorney name, and I can't see it. It looks like it's whited out. I have no problem with the terms and conditions to the student. I just would like to know who the, in number 7, who is it going to? And I don't know if we could say it publicly, but that's just a concern of mine, because I don't have it on mine.
I know the attorney. I'm sorry for editorializing. Karen, is that something that we normally place in the settlement agreement, is the attorney name? Yeah, I don't think it's needs to be held in confidence. It's an attorney Menorah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
usually in there. It's usually in there.
No, it usually is, and
Yeah.
I know that it wasn't another particular one because the amount's different.
Yeah.
Very true. Other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Ackert asks the board to consider a motion to approve New Story 2023 extended school year tuition agreements with students 25A, 26A, 27A, and 28A.
So moved.
Second?
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Mr. Acker, I would ask that the board consider a motion to approve summer projects.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Mr.
Just
Medensky.
one quick question. Let's just round it up to say summer projects are gonna cost $1 million. Now, there's a litany of summer projects, and I know probably aren't gonna get them all done in the summer. Is there, even though we're approving all those projects, doesn't mean that they necessarily are gonna all get done.
Correct.
And so we could be delaying them till the next summer.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, particularly because of where we are geographically. I can tell you that, on top of the list, there'll be things that, look, we want to get the playgrounds fenced in.
Correct.
Yeah, so we'll look at that in immediacy, but you're correct. Could be some time.
Thank you.
Mr. Azar.
No, I was just going to say, so we didn't really talk about this a whole lot. I think it's helpful for people to hear. This is step one, right? This is a very early step in all the facilities work that we've been looking into and the feedback that we've been getting. This is what we can get done this summer. This shouldn't be construed by the public as this is what we're doing, right? This is correct?
Yeah, correct. And to expand on that, I had mentioned that there were 3 sources of information that fed into our priority list. What you have in front of you, and traditionally every year the board would consider various summer projects. So we took a look at some not only high need projects, but also ones that could be done, right? And then next time that we're here, we're going to talk about some other projects. So this is the summer, but we have a list that goes out 4 years. And this does not include new builds, renovations. So for example, I mentioned the middle school showing up as a high need. The facility index score for the middle school was the worst of all buildings. That needs to be attended to. So we put together a list that spans some 4 years. We'll be discussing that, and then we'll move to the bigger items, the very large ticket items. And that will be a different type of discussion, because that will definitely take some type of bond issuance.
Other comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Karam?
Yes.
Mr. Medensky?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Azar?
Yes.
Mr. Fleming?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
9-0.
Okay, next up would be a list of uses of our facilities, listed on the back page of the agenda. Is there any unfinished business? Anyone want to bring some new business to the board? In that case, I'd call for, I ask for a motion to adjourn. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Are you otherwise well? I know to ask. Are you otherwise well?
Yeah. Good. How did your thing go?
What thing, honey? Oh, went fantastic. Actually, Warren won. He won the walking division.
Oh, okay.
Power walk the entire way.
How many people did you have?
A lot. We had almost 200, which is not, we normally don't have that many, but we partnered with the Countryside Conservancy this year, which I think boosts registrations. And this is the first year, so I've been doing this for at least a decade.